What's good, YouTube? So for the past few days, I've been listening to a lot of Brent Faiyaz, Party Next Door, a lot of vibey R&B stuff. Today, what I want to do is go into FL Studio and break down one of the beats I made last night that fits that vibe perfectly. So if you're ready, let's hop into FL. For this beat, I was trying to go for a really chill ambient vibe, but with hard-hitting drums. I started with this chord progression here on the guitar. So it's a super simple progression. I used the Evolution Jazz Arc Top guitar from Orange Tree Samples, and as effects, I have Portal on it and the low end EQ'd out along with some reverb and a little bit of delay. So once I had that, I wanted to have some keys under it as well. So I basically used the same chord progression and just inverted some of the notes. So here's what this sounds like. And for effects, all I had is an EQ to cut out the low end, boost some of the high end, and that's pretty much it. All the effects come from the plugin itself, which is Alchemy, and the preset is called Ultramarine Keys. So once I had the chord progression laid out, I laid down the main melody using a Rhodes. So here's what this sounds like. It has quite a few effects on it. Before the effects, it sounds like this. So the effects that are on the melody is shaper box. I want to reverse once every bar, and I'm using the volume to give it some more movement. I added the Voodoo plugin from UJam, which is adding a little bit of distortion and all those layers that you hear of delay. And finally, just some EQ to cut out the frequencies I didn't want. All together, they sound like this. So once I had my foundation, it was time for me to start adding the other elements. So next place I went was bass. For the bass, I use Arturia's Modular V3 plugin. I really love this plugin for bass. The preset is called Sub Bass Schultz. Here's what it sounds like. And this one has no effects on it at all, just kept it as is. And then I went into this contact bank called Straylight, and I used the preset called Singing Bowls just to add some high-end texture. So here's what this sounds like. It's very subtle. It's more of a felt, not heard type of sound. It's just there, but without it, the beat wouldn't feel as complete. And for effects, I have the Juno chorus and some EQ just to cut out the low end. And the final melodic element I added is this vocal chop from Arcade. And the effects on this, I just EQ'd out the frequencies I didn't want, and I added some reverb on it. So altogether, the melodies sound like this. So it's really ambient, really smooth, and it just feels very melodic and still has enough space for an artist to hop onto. So once that was done, I went to the drums. I laid down a pretty simple pattern. So once I had that simple pattern, I added the shaker loop on top of it. And then finally, this very simple hi-hat pattern. And I really wanted these drums to hit hard, so what I did, I routed them all to this drum bus. I used some compression to heavily compress it and distort it, and then I added some more distortion on top of it as well. And then I routed that to my reverb, which is the Relab LX480. It's probably one of my favorite reverb. Shout out to Relab for giving it to me for free, and they are not sponsoring this video. And then the last little percussive element I added was this little tambourine roll, just as a little transition. And finally, all that's really left is this ambience here, which is basically a water sound. It's not very loud, but it just adds some feel to the beat. And that's pretty much it. And on the master, I kept it simple. I added my imager just to spread out some of my high end and to make the low end mono so it hits harder. Some saturation with some preamp plugins and some compression. And then I used a new FGX2 limiter just to make sure that the beat is loud enough. So altogether, it sounds like this.